What it do, everybody? It's your boy, JonnyBee. We on JonnyBeeTV. We got a very special guest in the building, man. A man that played on all levels, professional level, you know what I'm saying, the college level, the high school level. Very thriving athlete, man, and too, a brother to me, man. So it's a very special episode today on JonnyBeeTV. We got Jimmy Sherburne in the building. What's going on, bro?
Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate having you. First off, before we get into your story, have you been checking out the USA team, the Olympics? Just give me your opinion on how you feel like they put the team together, and you know how you like the team so far.
The 5-on-5 team?
Yeah, the 5-on-5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've got, you know, all the talent in the world to pick from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of hard to screw it up when they've got everybody who wants to play, which they had, you know, all the big dogs this year wanted to come out and play. So, yeah, I can't complain too much with how they put it together. It looks, I'd be not shocked, but I'd be surprised if they lost. It would be some tough games, but I think they'll be all right. Yeah,
I think they just beat Puerto Rico yesterday or something like that.
Yeah.
But so as far as, like, you know, the teams in the past, how would you compare them to, like, the, you know, the former gold medal Olympics to the past?
Yeah, like the 08.
Yeah, 08, 2012
teams.
Maybe dream teams.
Yeah, those teams stand out. It's hard to compare to the dream team because it's just so long ago.
That's
different era, totally different level of competition they were playing against. So that one, you know, I don't really know. But the 08 and 12 teams seem comparable. 16, from what I, you know, that was like a little bit of a, they still, I mean, obviously they won gold, but just like maybe some of the top players sat out that year. And then 21, yeah, so I would put it on par with maybe like the 2012,
okay, yeah.
08 teams, yeah.
That was a good team, for real. As far as like basketball wise, for your entertainment, what are you into the most right now as far as NBA or college? What do you tune into the most?
I've been watching the Bucks, man, for basically as long as Giannis has been like good. He got me back into following the Bucks and the NBA. Like, so before that, I just followed the NBA religiously. Was like pretty much a LeBron fan for like most of his career. Still am. I still like him, but once the Bucks got good, the hometown spirit in me, yeah, I couldn't help it. Yeah, so
yeah, it did. You was a LeBron fan. We most definitely got some memories. We caught some games together, you know what I'm saying, with LeBron. It's
definitely.
Really the Heat days. That was the best LeBron. LeBron.
We went to one game during the win streak.
Yeah, we did.
They were in something like that was in the 20s maybe?
Yeah, and the 27
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So I'd have to go back and look what number in the streak that was, but it was pretty far into the streak, I remember.
And then we went to a playoff game against the Bucks. I remember that was JJ Redick first. He spoke on his year with the Bucks. That was funny.
That was the Bucks in 6.
Yeah, most definitely.
They got swept. Yeah,
yeah, they got swept that year. It's funny too. Just watching that game, I remember watching D Wade. I was just seeing how talented he was, and at the end of the game, he only had like 8 points. I'm like, man, I could have sworn he did more than that, but just how he moved, it was just so swift. But, you know, I just want to pick your knowledge a little bit before we get into your story. I love, you know, how you want to pick your brain a lot. You got a lot of knowledge of the game. I want to speak on your upbringing. You know what I'm saying? Tell me how it was growing up for you, the suburbs of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Whitefish Bay. Just tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, grew up in Whitefish Bay. Lived my whole childhood there. Had 2 brothers. I'm the middle of 3. And my parents, you know, it always felt like a very like competitive driven household.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think they held all of us to like high standards, and very like fortunate, you know, to have had that growing up, and high standards, but also very like supported in that, you know, so, yeah, it was just I feel really fortunate to have had the upbringing I had, and like a lot of the success I've had is due to that.
Which one of your parents, or if not both, who instilled, like, you know, that competitive nature into you as far as sports? Did they both love sports growing up? Like,
my mom was more of the athlete. They're both competitive. Like my dad was less like into athletics. I think he had like a leg injury when he was little that kind of might have affected his ability. But both super competitive. My mom was the athlete. She played like basketball, tennis, and track. And she definitely had, you know, a type of chip on her shoulder that I inherited, you know. So just like a winning mentality. Most definitely. For sure. So yeah, she got me into basketball very early. I can remember her in our backyard on the hoop, and I was maybe in kindergarten at the time, and I wanted to go shoot from directly under the basket. Yeah. She was trying desperately to get me to back up. Yeah. I wouldn't do it. I had to figure it out. That's the one thing I had to learn a lot of things the hard way, or my own way. So I should have listened a little better to her, but she was able to impart enough, I think. Yeah. Despite my stubbornness.
Most definitely. How is that for you? Just like, and important it is for like even your mom, because you know some moms, they don't know about sports and stuff like that. So just to, you know, push you and, you know, keep you level-headed when you know sports is being up and down. So like somebody in your corner to have you level-headed like that, coming from your mom, how important is that just as parents for, you know, the youth coming up and athletes?
Yeah, I think it's super important, whether it's your parents or coaches, like just to have somebody who looks out for you in your corner. Because, you know, like anything, things aren't always going to go your way. And it's a lot about how you respond to adversity. And it takes a village, you know, like I can't imagine. So no one can do it on their own. So wherever it's coming from, you know, if you're lucky, if you have it, but if not, like maybe try to, you know, you gotta find it, right? Like somebody who's gonna look out for you and support you through the lows. So yeah, my parents definitely were always there, supporting me through highs and lows, and definitely leaned on them, you know.
And that's something on JonnyBeeTV. I just always want to get that message out there. You know, just to be in your kids' life. We growing up now, you know what I'm saying? We're parents, so. And just to all people, whoever listening, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you, not just, like you said, not just being a parent, but if you got youth around you, nephews, nieces, or just kids that you know, if you just put life in them, good, positive life up in them.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta pay it forward, right? Like,
most definitely.
If you've reached any certain level of, or had any success, like someone else had a role in helping you through that, and the best thing you can do, I think, is try to instill that in somebody else. Yeah, like whether it's your own kids or the kids around the community, I think there's plenty of opportunities to do that. So that's something I'm hoping to do with my daughter, and in Whitefish Bay. I live back in town now, so just want to be helpful in as many ways as I can be.
Yes, that's perfect. As far as multiple sports that you played growing up, was basketball your first love, or because you played everything, right? Football, baseball, basketball, those are your three main sports? Main
sports, yeah. So I played a little soccer. Okay, like, soccer. When I was little.
Me too,
yeah. I think football might have been like my very first favorite sport, because Packers were really good when we were little. Yeah. Remember, like 96 is kind of that Super Bowl season. Yeah. It was kind of my first memory of watching sports.
I can relate to that. That's
and like Brett wanted to be Brett Favre, right? Antonio Freeman. So I really liked football at first, and then at some point I became aware of Michael Jordan. Maybe it was through Space Jam. That might have been.
That could have been that. Yeah,
that might have been it.
I always wonder when I like tapped into Jordan. I remember the last shot in Utah, but I don't know if it was like a replay, if I actually seen it live, or they replayed it so many times.
Yeah, I know for sure. I remember watching that one live. So yeah, at some point he became like my favorite athlete, and kind of basketball overtook football. So that was maybe kindergarten, first grade type time frame.
Who do you feel like you modeled your game around, as far as like, you know, I know you like Michael Jordan, you said that was your first, but when you start filling out your basketball game a little bit and can compare yourself, who did you look up to as far as like modeling your game around?
There wasn't one. Well, yeah, definitely Jordan as like a kid, because of course, right? But then as I got older, I don't know that there was one specific player. I tried to do a lot of different things and take from everybody. Like for a while, I was, using like Steve Nash's shooting form to try to. Because he was kind of before Steph Curry, right? Like a small guard who could really shoot, and obviously his passing, right? So I tried to take from him, certain things about Kobe's game. Even though I wasn't a 6'7" shooting guard, there's always something you can take from him. And then later on, Steph Curry, just that. He just took it to another level of, I didn't you can really shoot that well. That's possible. Yeah. I think that was the case for a lot of people once he came on.
That freedom too, you know what I'm saying, that he had. I know. And too, just how we was raised, how it was preached, like his style of play, you're getting pulled out ASAP, you know what I'm saying? So it's sort of hard to relate.
Yes and no, right? Like the deep shots.
Yeah, yes, the deep shots.
But also he took moving off the ball
to a whole different level. And just, I think, put more eyes on that type. That's something that you learn growing up, but it kind of gets lost maybe at the NBA level when you're just so much focus on the ball and highlights and stuff like that. And just what kind of impact you can have screening and moving, especially as a shooter. I think he kind of brought that back to the fundamentals. And that shooting off the dribble, as far as him, you know what I'm saying? That's really hard to perfect, and he got that down pat real good.
For sure.
Especially his mid. I know, like you said, you bring up his long ball, 3-ball, but his mid-range is just so ridiculous too. And you know what I'm saying? Just keep defenders. His shooting ability is so great. Just keep defenders on their heels all day. It's impossible. Just
the ability to get his shot off quickly and from anywhere.
So, what was your first taste of organized sports? When did it all start for you? As far as basketball, we can speak on.
There were the local rec leagues that I played in starting in first grade. So it was the first and second graders played together, and then the third and fourth graders played together. So I played in those, and knew I was good by second grade. Okay,
I was gonna ask you that too. Did you feel like it came natural to you?
Yeah, first grade was a little tougher just because you're playing with older kids. So and at that age there's just such a big difference year to year. But then second grade, when I was playing with kids my age, I was I'm pretty good at this. And then AAU started in third grade. Okay. So I was able to get into AAU pretty early, which I think was really helpful. Had a good team at that age.
That was going to be my next question as far as, was it Swish right away?
Yep.
So how long did you play for Swish? You played through
Swish was 5 years, through seventh grade.
Oh, seventh grade, okay.
Yeah, so just really, really fun time. Had a great coach, Mike McGivern, who's radio in town here, does high school sports radio.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And, played with eventual high school teammates, our friends, Charlie Marks and Kevin James.
Yeah, most definitely shout them out.
And former JonnyBeeTV guest, Jarrell Harris, was on that team.
Most definitely, I wanted to bring him up too. Shout out Jig, man.
Yeah. So we had a lot of good times with that team. Obviously, a lot of other guys came through and played with, but it was just a really good formative experience. And it was fun and competitive, and we got to, travel locally, and also, went to nationals in Florida, which was a really core memory for us. So, yeah.
That was another thing I was going to ask you as far as traveling. How was it competing against nationally and just traveling for AAU and stuff like that? How was that experience for you growing up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So more of the national travel came in high school.
Okay.
It was more local, or Fort Wayne, where it was a lot of the tournaments when we were younger. But then it really picked up in high school, and I loved it. The first chance I had, so after the Swish team kind of disbanded, I jumped on Playground Warriors. When I was in 8th grade, I kind of was without a team, so I jumped on the 15U team when I was 14. So that was like Kwame Mitchell, JD Wise. That was that team, and
Static.
Yeah, so they were in a more aggressive travel schedule, a Nike team, you know. I remember the first tournament of the season that year was in Dallas, and I was in 8th grade, and we had the variety show that the 8th graders always host for the school I was at. It was a big deal, I get, you know.
Yeah.
And I skipped it. I was like, there's no question. I'm going to Dallas. Not a question. And the parents running the variety show were really upset with me because I broke it to them like maybe a month before the show. They kind of had to scramble because I was involved with a few things, and so But there was, it's like, I'm going. There was no doubt in my mind at that age, like, this is what I want to be doing with my time and energy on the weekends, you know. So
first playing with Playground, and we're gonna speak on that a little bit more. But how was that experience? Like you said, you mentioned Kwame Mitchell, JD Wise. So I know it's real competitive. How was that, like, going from Swish into Playground, and you was playing up? So, like, how was that experience for you? Was it shocking a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, because I was a little bit of a late bloomer, not super late physically, but I just was still like, I felt like a boy. Okay. When at that age, and they felt more like men. You know?
They was different. I remember them back then. Yeah. It was different.
And I didn't play a ton in the games, but practices were a really good opportunity for me to play against older guys, because obviously my teammates were older, and then we would practice with the 16s as well. So I thought it was, without that experience, I don't know if I'd have been as confident as I was going into high school. Yeah. And being able to play varsity freshman year. So yeah, it was, obviously I would have liked to play more, but I think that was a really big summer for me.
Do you remember, I know it was years ago, but was your focus on trying to, you know, get into the city and, you know, get into competition within playing in Milwaukee? Because, of course, you and Whitefish Bay is literally, it's the same thing, you know what I'm saying? But just playing in the city against city competition, was that a goal for you to, you know, compete against the best in the city?
Yeah, and I got a taste of it through, like, Swish. You know, you, like, biggest competition back then was the Stars. You know, Johnny Lacey, Jamil Wilson, and that was eventually kind of the team that Playground became when we were older that I joined. But yeah, definitely wanted to always find the best competition in the city. Like, I remember being in high school, or early high school, we would go up to West Suburban, the YMCA out there. Just, you always heard that's where the good pickup games were.
We spent so many times at West Suburban.
Drive all the way out there.
We used to get dropped off out there, be out there for hours.
Yeah,
and
all day.
That's important to speak on, because, like, I know now they got trainers and, you know, it's a lot going on social media, but I remember literally spending, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours in the gym with you, you know what I'm saying? West Suburban, any gym, Elite, anything, but it was just important to put in work, you know what I'm saying, back then.
Yeah, I mean,
it still is.
It's just about putting the hours in, right? Like, I'm sure there were times we could have been a little more efficient with our time, but
most definitely.
But, you know,
it was fun though too.
That's part of it, right? It's got to be fun too.
Facts. Speaking, since we in middle school, the select team that up in Whitefish Bay, you got to play with JonnyBeeTV.
That's
you know
right,
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, as a teammate, JonnyBeeTV, how was I as a teammate? One of your teammates?
Best teammate I ever had, hands down, hands down, no question.
Let's get it.
4 of the best years playing with that team. Would you agree? I mean,
it was the best time I had for basketball, and the most I learned.
Yeah,
for real.
We were. I mean, again, like, real lucky. Like, one thing I've kind of thought about in my adult life is you really got to be. There's a lot of luck that goes into getting to a certain level. And part of that is, do you have good coaches as a kid? And, like, we were really lucky to have Dave Markson and Harry Malopoulos, you know, as the assistant. Like, they did a really good job with us and like knew the game, and were also just good coaches and like good role models for us, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, those were definitely 4 of the best years playing basketball, and winning was a big part of that too.
Yes, winning, especially
won a lot of games.
My first year with you guys, 6th grade, so I came in.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
But we literally only lost 2 games. That whole
47-2. Yeah.
Yes, I believe we lost in the league championship. I believe.
Yeah.
And then as far as state championship, we got 2nd. But that was
only the 2 biggest games of the year. Yeah.
So the 2 biggest games of the year. But other than that, tournament to tournament, just building that chemistry with each other, friendships that we have today. You know what I'm saying? I was 11 years old when I met you. We here now.
Yeah.
So bringing everything together. Like you said, you spoke on our coaches. Coach Markson, I want to give him a big ups. You know what I'm saying? To this day, he was patient with me. Young boy, you know what I'm saying, a little high-headed, taught me poise, you know what I'm saying, I didn't even know what poise was, you know what I'm saying. Didn't give up on kids, you know what I'm saying, so shout out to Coach Marks, I'm glad that we mentioned him. Players that we had on the team.
Yeah.
Shout out, like you said, Charlie, Kevin that we mentioned early, Kevin James, a lot of people, John Orkin, want to give him some love.
Great guy, yeah.
Just a great time.
Alex Foshager.
Alex Foshager, oh yeah, most definitely, can't forget Alex. Sam, he didn't play on the team with us, he ended up eventually playing with you.
Yeah.
But shout out Sam Check. Just a family, you know what I'm saying, I wanted to get that out there. It was a
definitely.
Big family vibe.
And real quick, like you mentioned Coach Markson, he was a high school counselor, so that makes sense that he was so good with, bringing kids along like that. So, yeah,
one of the best times, especially my favorite time of my basketball career was with y'all. And just not even on the court. Off the court, we got to, you know what I'm saying, just be in different locations, hotels, just kicking it. You know what I'm saying? It was real fun.
Famous Dave's, Culver's, after games.
Did we go to Hooters one time?
I think you guys went to Hooters.
I think that was an idea. I don't think we went. If you didn't go, I didn't go. I think that was just an idea then.
No, what I think happened was maybe one car went to Hooters and another car didn't.
I don't think I was in that car because I don't remember going. And
maybe we did. I don't know.
Nick Desson, I remember his pops nice lunch dinner after one of our games before. Shout out Nick Desson.
Yeah,
just everything real good. So getting back into your story, going into your freshman year. What's your goals? First off, was there other options that you had besides Whitefish Bay?
Yeah, I looked for a little bit at Dominican and Marquette. Probably Dominican was the other closest option. But eventually it became pretty clear, like I was only going to go to Whitefish Bay. So, it was an easy call at the end of the day. And then the goal, just wanted to play varsity as a freshman.
Yep.
There was, playing time I wasn't really worried about it. I figured I was maybe going to get some. It was kind of out of my control, but I just wanted to be on the varsity team and practice with those guys because it was a really good group at that point. My freshman year, we were ranked number 1 in the state, Division II most of the year. I had 3 seniors who ended up playing either Division I Steve Gruber went to Brown. Yep. Sherrod Smith played at Boston University. Matt Schneck, St. Cloud State D2, but he was like All-American and played professionally for how many years after that.
And he had offers too, and the growth in him. And I just wanted to ask you about that ball club. You were speaking on it, but just coming in as a freshman and like playing on that veteran ball club, like that was, even though they didn't win state, that was a real underrated team. You know what I'm saying? So speak on that a little bit, just as far as like coming in as a freshman, what did you learn from them as far as you being a freshman and having that veteran leadership?
It was, just like how, like you see the level that you want to reach, right? And seeing it every day. It's not unlike, the Packers quarterback succession, right? They come in and they see the guy in front of them for 3 years. And granted, it was only 1 year for me, but just being around that every day, you can't help but get better. Yeah. If you're putting the effort in, the results are going to come. So it was just a really competitive, talented environment with a good coach too, Coach Shaw. Really passionate about the game. fiery guy, but really like wanted the best for the team and everybody on it. And you know, it could lead to like butting heads at times, but that's kind of, you know, I think that's what you want out of a coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way than to be on that team as a freshman.
I'm glad you brought up Coach Shaw. You know what I'm saying? We want to give him his flowers too. Real excellent coach. Like you said, real fiery guy. It took me to get older to, you know, understand where he was coming from sometime. But looking back at it, I can see the passion he had for the game, the love he had for his players. You know what I'm saying? He's going to show it different ways. But I'm glad that you brought him up, man. We got to give Coach Shaw his flowers.
Big time.
So you go through your freshman year. What's the summer looking like, and what's your focus on sophomore year as far as like expectations and getting better? Because now the keys are in your hands more now, sophomore year, right?
Yeah. So summer, that was when changed teams again in the summer, and that was when the team I kind of settled into came together. That Stars team I mentioned, like Johnny Lacey and Jameel Wilson, coached by Brian Jonikin. I ended up joining that team, and we came under they came under the Playground umbrella.
Yep.
So that was like a really just another, you know, really talented team. Great practices to be a part of. I always, you know, and that was kind of my thing. At least one of the things I was good at was just putting myself in competitive situations. And, you know, you can live with the results there, but that's what, you know, I did a lot of things wrong, but one thing I will give myself credit for is, you know, I always wanted to put myself in the most competitive situation or most competitive team and just let the chips fall where they may. So that, and then just, you know, basketball aside, that was just a really fun team to be with too. Still friends with a lot of those guys today. And another team that won a lot of games and, you know, had fun doing it. So, and then going into sophomore year, yeah, just that was a definite transition year. We lost a lot of, you know, all those seniors that I mentioned, and it was a really young team. Yep. Charlie and Kevin, who we mentioned before, were, you know, we were kind of the young core of that team. We didn't have a ton of the class, like the classes above us weren't huge basketball classes. Yeah. They excelled kind of in other sports. So that was a really good opportunity for us to have some growing pains, but get a lot of experience of actually playing. You know, I played some my freshman year, but sophomore year, you're right, it kind of gave us the keys.
Most definitely. And too, like you said, you know, going through the storm with that, Kevin and Charlie, they just moving up, so this their first year on varsity. Really, everybody first year for real. You really getting your foot in the door. So, and too, but before we move on, you were a two-way athlete. You were playing football as well.
Yes, played football, quarterback. I kind of stumbled into playing quarterback. I always wanted to play running back or receiver. Okay.
So I remember you playing, it was like a select and as far as for the Blue Dukes for football too as well, right?
Yeah, I played running back and safety in middle school. Okay. And then freshman year, the quarterback on the freshman team, Rylan Tews, who you might remember, he had a health issue where he had to sit out a few weeks. And I was the backup at that point. So I had to step in and play quarterback, and just was really naturally good at it. Yeah. So I stuck with it. And then by sophomore year played JV, and by junior year was starting on the varsity team. And so yeah, that was, like I mentioned, it was probably my first love early on. So yeah, I had a really, really good time playing football, and I think there are definitely certain ways it helped my basketball too. Just having, you got to have a certain level of toughness, even at the quarterback position, playing football, that I think carries over to basketball, particularly on the defensive side. That's all effort and heart, right? And you need that to play football. So I thought it was really helpful.
And that's good too, because that was something I was going to ask you. How did you translate, playing football, like you said, you was a quarterback, you got to, you know what I'm saying, you're the leader of the team, point guard and on the football field as far as quarterback. So how did you translate that, your knowledge on the football field to basketball, if you can? I know it's two different sports.
No, I think there's a couple ways. Some good and bad, but like the good ways, being quarterback, you gotta have, like, there's definitely a leadership aspect to it, and having like command of the huddle and being, you're the voice of at least the offense, if not the whole team, right? So you gotta just kind of exude confidence and poise, and if you let your emotions get the best of you, that's going to affect the team in some way, most likely. So that was, I think, that a great lesson, not just for basketball, but for life in general, to be in that position. And then, playing the actual game, like, it really, like, having to pass the ball is, I think there's like a passing gene or a pass, like, it all kind of, like, seeing the field helps you see the floor in basketball.
Okay.
And so I think it definitely helped my court vision, and just kind of reaction time. And the one downside, I would say, though, football is a game that's mostly played at like full speed all the time. Yeah. For the most part. I feel you. Right. There's some patience you got to have, but it's like go, go, go. And basketball, there's very rare instances where you should be going 100% speed. I feel what you mean. And it took me a long time to figure that out, because I think when I was younger, I was going full speed all the time. Yeah. And it's a game where you really got to change pace and play a little more measured. There's a time and a place to go full speed. And maybe on the defensive end, I mentioned football definitely helping me on defense. Defense, you can go full speed. That's a fact. Offense, there's a little more nuance to the pace. So that was something that took me a little bit longer to learn. Yeah. And y'all football games used to be live. I know you was active in the game, but in the stands it used to be real live up in them games, man. Very fun times. What games, as far as football and basketball, just within the conference, that got, like, Whitefish Bay rivals, what got your blood going? Football, Homestead. They had our number. Like, that was, they're probably still really good, but back then they were winning state or finishing runner-up every year. They won the conference like 100 years in a row at that point. Yeah. But there was, my junior year, we had a really talented team. Shout out to Lars Knudsen. Oh yeah, shout out Lars, yeah. Wide receiver one. And we took that. That was our homecoming game that year. Packed house. They had like a 30-something game conference win streak. And we went to overtime that game. Ended up losing. They threw, like, they had 4th and goal. We had scored first in overtime to go 14-7, and then we got them to 4th and 8 or 4th and goal from the 8. Yeah. And they threw like a comeback right at the goal line, so the guy was coming back out of the end zone. Yeah. But like the ball had just crossed as he caught it, even though he ended up landing outside of the end zone. Yeah. And they gave him the touchdown, and then they went for 2 and won the game. Oh, so that's tough. That was definitely the most exciting football game that we played in. Was it, despite the loss? But that was one that stands out. I'm sure I was there. I'm pretty sure I could have been there. It was a good one. Yeah. And then for basketball, Germantown was probably our biggest rival. I remember going against Germantown in middle school, maybe, or I just remember Avercamp was our class. That's what I remember. Okay. He was, I think he might have been Gatorade State Player of the Year as a senior. Yeah. Okay. Shared Conference Player of the Year award with him and Josh Gosser too. My senior year, but they were, they won conference. Steve Showalter had just taken over there, so they won conference my sophomore and junior year. They were just like a kind of a machine. Like, played a super fast pace, size, shooting, really talented, really well coached, and we were fortunate to beat them my senior year at home. That was kind of a highlight for us, was winning that game at home, and ended up winning the conference that year. Because we dropped a game at Germantown. We had a big lead going to the fourth. They came back and beat us by 2.
Okay.
Because that was our only regular season loss.
To that point. Okay.
And then they ended up dropping another game to Port. So, but yeah, I probably Germantown. I mean, it felt like every North Shore game felt kind of like a rivalry game.
Yeah, it did.
Like Port Washington, Milwaukee Lutheran, Nicolet.
Yep.
Cedarburg was always tough games. It was a lot of good talent in the conference. Those
Grafton
years.
was in your conference.
They were a little less talented. During that time.
I was just trying to think of the
Yeah.
conferences now is just all over the place.
And Homestead basketball, they always had fielded good teams. So
they had the best gym too. Those summertime. I remember playing summer league. Yeah. They had it used to be hot up in there, so your legs loose. Yeah, most definitely.
Right.
Before we get into your junior and senior year, was it hard walking away from football? Because like senior year, you started focusing on basketball mainly, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think I had committed. So I committed to Princeton September of my senior year.
Okay.
So before football season ended. So by the time football season ended a couple months later, I was ready to move on. Like I had, my future kind of in my head. Like, and I, football, as much as I enjoyed it, I didn't like the practices very much.
I feel you.
It's and playing outside.
I'm with you on that.
I'd rather be indoors. Yeah.
That's the number one thing with me, bro. I couldn't do it. I remember in middle school, who was it? Fuda, was he running the program?
Yes.
Yeah, I used to come to y'all practice and stuff. He like, come on, Johnny, I had you out here. I'm coming. I never came.
Shout out to him too.
Shout him out too. Great. And the twins, man. Shout out everybody. I want to speak on senior year real quick. Just that was a breakout year for you. You feel like junior and senior year? Do you feel like that was a breakout year individually?
Yeah, a little. Like junior year, I think I took. My numbers went to another level. Definitely felt more confident and grew some too. Matured physically, but then I think took another leap personally and definitely as a team. Senior year, we kind of all came together. We'd all kind of grown, literally and figuratively. And then we had some of the younger guys coming up too, played big roles. John Johnston.
Shout out Johnny.
Killer. Jamie Schneck was young, but really talented as a sophomore.
That's Matt's little brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like Sam Check put in a ton of work to become a role player on that team.
Most definitely.
Nick Desson, like you said, was on the team. And then some of the juniors, like who didn't play as much, Javante Merriweather, Alex Jamerson, Paul Davis, made practices really competitive.
Yep. Shout out all three of them, man. They're my boys, man. Shout out.
So that was, and I got to shout out Dylan Gates too.
Oh, shout out Dylan Gates. Yeah,
role player too. On basketball team, but also wide receiver 1 senior year. So, that was
got arms stretched past the ocean.
Yeah. So I mean, we'd been. This was another thing that really helped us was we played in like the same style offense. Remember, we ran the flex.
Yep. Okay.
From fifth grade on, so we knew ins and outs, every counter to every. Everything we'd seen it all running that offense. So by the time senior year came around, we were like humming on all cylinders. And no one could, without a shot clock, we were going to get whatever shot we wanted.
Facts.
So maybe a shot clock would have hurt us a little bit, but we were, and then we made a commitment to having an edge on the defensive side that season too, and I think we held teams that year to like 34 points a game.
That's
we were like plus 20 margin of victory that year. It was like crazy because I can remember this vividly. We got destroyed by Dominican when we were juniors. Okay. So like Kwame as a senior, great, like they had a really good team.
JBTV.
Yeah. And like we couldn't handle their pressure. that was a big thing that was kind of an eye-opening for us. So coming into senior year, I was like, hey, like we had a text thread going, me, Charlie, and Kevin. Like, you remember how Dominican guarded us last year? Like we need to do that to everybody else every game.
That's real.
And we hounded teams. So as good as we were in the flex, I think it was really our defense that season that was like elite for at least, for that level.
Individually, how was your confidence? You won Player of the Year for the conference. You made third team All-State. You know what I'm saying? So just how you feeling individually as, like, you know what I'm saying, about to move on to the next level. How you feeling about your game senior year? Is your confidence at the all-time level?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You played how many games by then? Like 60 plus varsity games. Yeah. So you've kind of seen it all at that point. But yeah, I just was able to play free. And I think that's the place anybody would want to get to, where you're going out there, you're not worried about anything. You're not, you're thinking about, the game plan and stuff, but there's no wavering in confidence or, you might have some down games, but it's not going to shake you at all. You can really bounce back more easily from that. And just the team we had, not just, it's still a team game, right? Like my teammates, as good as we were, you knew, even if I have an off night, we're gonna have what it takes to come out in the end. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think my confidence had it probably peaked in that season,
Yep.
So.
And too, as far as, like, I know with Whitefish Bay is, at the end of the day, it's team first, like you said, and you bring up a lot. Like, we can get into your individual stuff, but at the end of the day, in high school, it was about the team.
To that point, one of the things I appreciate now, it was frustrating at the time, but I look back now, it was really hard for us to get our stats. Like, we knew how many points we had, but like,
I would think I'm not trying to cut you off, but you're the type of person that can average 20 plus, you know what I'm saying? And maybe you're all.
Oh, no, I just mean like even know what our stats were.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like,
in general.
We could keep track of points and stuff, but like, you weren't really trying to keep track of that.
Yeah.
But I never really knew what I was shooting or how many rebounds or assists I had.
Exactly.
And we were just more worried about the game.
Yeah.
And I think everybody kind of took that approach. We didn't have our stats posted anywhere.
Yeah.
So it really became just about the games and like winning the game.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're worried, I think if that's your focus, everything else will fall into place.
And that's one thing, and I can admire that from you, seeing that from middle school, but like, just like you never was worried about your numbers, you know what I'm saying? You always played the right way. That never went in your mind to where like you felt like you had to get more shots just to get your light out there, because I feel like if you wanted to, you could have put up more numbers, but that was never a mindset for you. You was always, just thinking about more trying to get the win.
Yeah, I'm sure like you probably thought about it like, going into the season or whatever, like, I have goals, like I want to maybe average this many points. But yeah, like once the ball is thrown up, you're just playing the game and trying to win. And I think everybody on our team took that approach.
Yeah, most definitely. I can agree to that. I'm glad I got to see it.
In middle school too, like that's how our team was. Like we really just wanted to go out and have fun and win.
Facts. And yeah, especially winning. I feel like in middle school and still winning was first, because at the end of the day, that was the most fun. I barely went. The times I cried was 2 times, and that was the times we lost up in 6th grade. So most definitely that team first was always instilled in Whitefish Bay. So I most definitely got to shout out Dukes for that.
I also like that we would try to blow teams out.
Yeah, we did. We did. Run up the score. Yeah.
We did not care. We were like, we're going to win by as many points as we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, everybody got to play then.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, you're doing everybody a solid.
Thanks. In the senior year, you almost made the state, and we had Flav on here. He brought you up saying, how that won in his favor. and how y'all took the loss. So what's your?
He said that was one of his favorite games.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
I bet.
He basically felt like after that win,
they knew they were going to win.
They was going to win state after
that. Was the state championship game for sure.
Thanks.
I mean, we were 1-2 the whole year. Like we kind of had our eye on them. I'm sure they knew we were there too because we'd be in the same sectional. Yeah, just it was. They were super. Obviously, Flavian's was just super good.
Yeah, he was.
And then they had a good team around him. Like they had a lot of length, well coached, size, just knew how to play. And that was like, we talked about our defense. That was their calling card too. The final score. Did he tell you the final score?
He did. I don't remember. He said it was real grimy, wasn't it?
36-34.
I do remember that. Okay, yeah. He did say that.
Buckets were hard to come by. I might have shot like 3 for 18 that game. Like it was a tough night. Yeah. John Johnson played really well for us. He kind of took on the scoring load, but yeah, defensive slugfest down at Waukesha South. Yeah. Packed gym. Student sections really showed out. 1 versus 2. I don't remember who was who at the time, but that felt like whoever wins this game is going to go on and win the whole thing.
I think I'm not sure if I caught that game because the game I was at that I remember this could have been your junior year was at Wauwatosa.
Tosa East.
Tosa East.
So we played Division I that season.
Okay. That was junior year.
My junior year. Yeah. We were like the smallest Division I school.
I remember that. That's crazy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
So yeah, we played a pretty good competitive game against Tosa East, who then also went on to win the championship that year. Yeah. So yeah, 2 years in a row, we played the eventual champion. That Waukesha, the Wisco game was tough. We were up 3 late. We think we had like an and 1 to go up 34-31 with maybe a minute or 2 left, and then Flavian hit a 3 to tie it with maybe a minute left. And then back and forth, no buckets. And then they had the ball. They missed a shot, loose ball. They called a loose ball foul on one of our guys. And then, so it's 1-1. Yeah. Their center goes to the line. First free throw, back rim up and went in. And then he hit the second. And we had to go full court. And just didn't get a great shot off. Yeah, that was tough.
Oh, that's tough. Well, yeah, I had to get your side of the story on that.
Man. So that was a tough one because we had such great student support that year. The games were super fun. It was fun just for everybody else. Obviously fun for the team, but all of our friends who came to all the games. It was a really memorable year. So it would have been great to finish in Madison, but. You can't win them all.
Can't win them all. Well, yeah, I'm blessed to have that story. Moving forward, your recruiting process, like you said, you already committed to Princeton in September, right? Yeah. So just tell me what went into that decision on going there, and what other schools that you have lined up as far as. Yeah,
I was pretty picky. I knew I wanted to play or try to, Division I. Yep. And I didn't really want to play at a mid-major unless it was a really good school, right? I had good grades. Yep. And so I was like, okay, I'm either going to go try to play at a high major, and just wasn't quite good enough to do that. I could have walked on at a high major and maybe eventually earned a scholarship. But didn't get a high major offer. So then eventually my grades got me on the Ivy League radar. And I was recruited the hardest by Princeton and Harvard. And I had interest in Yale because that's where Lars ended up going for football. I remember that. Okay. So I had some familiarity there. So I was more pursuing them than they were pursuing me. And I ended up taking visits to Princeton and Yale, unofficials. I never really reciprocated Harvard's interest in me. I remember talking to Tommy Amaker a few times, and for whatever reason, they hadn't really established the basketball program to that point. And so yeah, I didn't end up visiting them, even though that was Jeremy Lin was a senior when I was a freshman.
Okay, I was gonna ask you. That was like the.
And then it was kind of my class and the class above me at Harvard that eventually made them a really good team for a number of years. So I didn't see the vision but they were fine without me. Yeah, and then Yale was like, they didn't really have, like, I went to them. They had a coach. They sent a coach to meet me. He was like a half hour late. You know. Yeah. I almost felt like it was intentional.
I feel you.
You know, like just to show we were not really that interested.
That's real.
So that was a little disheartening because that was the first stop on the kind of East Coast swing, and then went down to Princeton and it was like night and day. Like they were happy to see me. Kind of. I don't know if you can really roll out the red carpet for an unofficial visit, but you know, I met Pete Carrill there. He was around and they had him come say hello. He's the Hall of Fame coach who kind of invented the Princeton offense. He passed a year or two ago, but you know, he coached for the Kings for a while. He was an assistant, so I remember that pretty vividly, and just had a lot better experience there, and that just made it an easy choice. I think I committed a few weeks after that, if not a week later. So
committing to Princeton, that's just not a school you can't just get into. You know what I'm saying? So being a student athlete, was that academic wise, did that always come easy to you? Not easy, but how did you balance the two as far as like academics? You was always in sports, football, basketball. How was you able to balance the two and, you know, get great grades to make it to, you know, an Ivy League school?
Yeah, I guess I was always, like, in a way, school was always like the number one priority. In that I was always going to try to do as good as I could or as well as I could in school. Yeah, just that competitive nature, I think, spilled into that. Okay. You know, I felt there was certainly, you know, I was blessed that some things came easily to me, but I also, like, I just wanted to do well. You know, if I thought I could get an A, I wanted to get an A.
Facts.
And just had that mindset since I can remember. You know, then there were like certain sacrifices that I had to make. Like I didn't take as many AP classes, you know, in high school because of sports. Yeah. So sports was obviously a priority, but I was never gonna like slack in school because of sports. Like they were both, you know, top priorities. So that was like, I never even, you know, I never wavered on that.
So going into Princeton, what was the adjustment period like? So, you know what I'm saying? Just as far as you in a new state, you in New Jersey, how did you adjust your freshman year?
It was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. Well, first off, I had a pretty major shoulder injury the summer before. I got hurt in the WBCA All-Star game. Okay. I dislocated my shoulder and had to have surgery. So I knew going in I was going to be out the first few months of the season rehabbing. It was like a 6-month recovery. So that sucked. There was some thought even to like, you can't formally redshirt. I would have had to like not go to school. Yeah, not be enrolled. And then start school a year later. I thought about doing that, but you know, I would have been, I just wanted to go, like, get started, you know, because it wasn't just about basketball. I wanted to, you know, keep feeling like my life was progressing, you know.
I feel that.
So, you know, got out there, was still, you know, very early in the recovery phase, not playing at all, and then adjusting to living in, you know, 1,000 miles away. And I was lucky to have some really good friends that I met early on. Obviously you have the team, and we all got along really well, so that was really helpful. At least, you know, I didn't have to worry about making friends in that way. So that was huge, but it was definitely a challenge. Like, the schoolwork was pretty challenging. It was, you know, it was more required than in high school. A little bit more flexibility in the schedule, but you know, they definitely was demanding, the classes and stuff. So trying to juggle all that while also not being able to play was It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. So that first semester was especially difficult. And then I got cleared over winter break, so right around Christmas time to play. And then got to play in like 3 games, some spot minutes. And then I got mono right after that. So I was out like another 4 or 5 weeks, basically the rest of the season. So it was a rough go in a lot of ways. I still like enjoyed myself, I think. You know, I try not to think like too negatively about, because you know, think of like the position I was in. I wasn't gonna, you know, be overly negative about it, knowing how fortunate I was, and just the people. I had good people around me. So, you know, as challenging as some of those things were, there was still a lot to be excited about and happy about.
And with your shoulder, I was gonna ask you when that shoulder injury occurred. I didn't know if when you got to New Jersey, but it was before you even got there.
Yeah, it was in like June, right after I graduated high school.
Yeah. So yeah, I know that's tough going in. So you had the surgery before you
I had the surgery in July, got to school early September, and then kind of had to continue my rehab. With trainers out there.
And too, so like I know basketball is really a rhythm game, you know what I'm saying? And I know like you want to get back. So was that a hard adjustment just on the court trying to get back? Did you ever feel like you was able to get back in rhythm that first year?
Not that first year.
Yeah.
No. Like I can remember shooting my first jumper like after the surgery, and it went in, but it definitely felt weird. You know? And yeah, it took a while. And at the same time, like you're kind of behind the 8 ball just as a freshman in college anyway.
Exactly.
You know, so I was trying to get back, but also wanted to feel like I was improving, which was, it's just not really going to happen that way. Like I remember having individual workouts before I was cleared fully with one of the assistants on the team, Scott Greenman. And he was, you know, trying to get me to pound the ball with my left hand because I couldn't really, you know, I couldn't do much with my right hand yet. And I couldn't do it. You know, I just wasn't good enough yet. So there was the frustration of not being able to play, and then also just feeling like I got a lot of, like, there's a lot to improve on. You know, so it's kind of a double whammy in that way.
And me knowing you always been like, you know, a mentally strong person. So do you as far as like the basketball career leading up to now, was this like your most taxing mentally time?
Probably, like just with the injuries and the sickness all mixed in. You know, that 8th grade year with Playground was challenging too. I would felt like that in terms of just how difficult it was, you know, to get on the floor. But yeah, adding in like the school, just a lot of change, you know. At the same time, that's how you grow, right? Like those hardest times, you know. What was some Monty Williams used to say? It came off corny when he said it, but he's like, everything like that you want is on the other side of hard, right? Like
okay,
everything,
I feel that,
you know, like you're not gonna get something good if it's not hard getting there, right? So it was definitely a growth period.
Yeah. Into your sophomore year at Princeton, just tell me, like, you know, you came from a season where you was injured and sick, you know what I'm saying, going with mono. You missed the last 5 games of the season?
Probably more than that.
Yeah.
I came back for like 1 game or a handful of games. I got in like for a few minutes in 1 game. Yeah. And actually, had I not gotten in that game, I could have probably qualified for another year of eligibility.
Okay. Ooh.
Based on like medical hardship, but you know, what are you gonna do?
So with all that going on, sophomore year, what's the focus now? You know what I'm saying? You get another year. What's your main focus as far as, like, you know, trying to get in good with the team? How's the coaching?
Oh, I mean, the coaching at that school in particular was always, there's a huge coaching tree from Princeton. So like, you want to get coached well for the most part. Like, I'm sure there were some coaches over the years who were better than others there, but a lot of good coaches coming through there. So, you know, they knew what they were doing. My goal that year was to start. I had an opportunity to, but I just wasn't, I wasn't quite good enough yet by that point. I don't think I quite, I didn't have the handle yet. Mm-hmm. I never really worked hard enough on that when I was younger.
I see.
I didn't really commit to like the drill work like kids now. I mean, there were kids doing it back then, but I feel like nowadays it's become, kind of everybody does it.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't that, it just wasn't that, that common. Like that, you were kind of an outlier if you were like really drilling your handle every day. Mm. So that kind of held me back from accomplishing that personal goal and like getting on the floor a little more. But we had part of it was we had a really good team. That was the year we ended up winning the Ivy League and going to the NCAA tournament. And we had really good upperclassmen. My class was really good. Mm-hmm. So there was just a lot of talent on the team. And, even though I wasn't playing a ton, it was, made practice really competitive. Like every day was tough. Mm-hmm. So, I tried to find other ways to contribute.
Was it hard adjusting to, like you said, coming in your freshman year and you got hurt and everything? Was it hard adjusting to those practices? Like, what I'm saying, was that difficult as far as on the Division I level? Because, what I'm saying, you played on the high school level, but just a whole new adjustment just as far as on the court. So, like, was the practice harder? What was the hardest thing on adjusting to the Division I level, you feel?
Yeah, I mean, the practices were harder for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest adjustment was weight room and commitment to that. Not that I like struggled with that, but it was just a lot more of a commitment and more part of the program, right? Because I had a lot of I needed to get stronger, and I eventually did, but it's just not something we really focused on in high school. I was always just more athletic than everybody and in the North Shore and stuff, so you just didn't really have to do as much, right? Yeah. But then you just had to make a leap physically to compete at the next level. So that was the hardest part, I think, just getting up to speed physically. And being just getting to that next level of conditioning.
You end up dealing with injuries later on after your junior season? Well, I had a knee surgery before sophomore year. That was a little more minor, but still you don't want to be missing the month leading up to the season, but so that wasn't too bad. But yeah, I hurt my shoulder again. Same type of injury, dislocated, same surgery. And that was towards the end of my junior year. Okay. I'd started playing a little bit junior year, so and we had a really good, had our senior year team, not, had I not gotten hurt, the conference was really set up for us to win that following year, and they still almost did. I ended up missing the whole next season. Because Harvard was down a couple people. Still could have beaten them, but they were they had some cheating scandal or something where a couple of their best players missed a year and came back the next year. So I ended up, like I mentioned earlier, had to leave school to preserve my eligibility. So I came home and was home for a year, rehabbing and working, and just trying to get back up healthy, and then went back for my senior year the following year. That was something I wanted to ask you as far as when you came home, how was it? I know you were still focused on, you had your senior year, but just being back home, how was you feeling about basketball at the moment? Was this a tough time? You going through shoulder surgery again?
Yeah, it was tough. It was a hard decision to make. I didn't decide to get surgery right away. I was trying to play through it. Okay. Because I got hurt in March of junior year and then kept playing. But then kind of as time went on, my shoulder kept popping out more frequently to the point where I was playing in the Pro-Am in Milwaukee that summer, and was just like, I remember like Junior Cadogan from Marquette was picking me up full court, and I was trying to, you know, just dribble, and like I was going right, and he turned me, so I put the ball behind my back, and just putting the ball behind my back, my shoulder came out. I was like, well, this isn't sustainable
at all.
So at that point, it was like July at that point, so I'd gone 4 months before I decided that I had to have surgery. And that was difficult. Like, I think my coaches and my teammates were counting on me to come back that next year. Yeah. That was the plan. And then, so to have to make that call was not easy, because we were really thin in the backcourt for that year. So, yeah, that was probably the hardest part, was like knowing the impact that I could have and probably would have had just by being out there. I didn't even have to, they didn't need that much for me. Like, you know, I didn't need to score that much. They just needed another like guard, you know, just a body. So that was hard, but I did everything I could to try to avoid surgery. It just didn't work. So, but once that decision was made, I kind of came to terms with it. Being back home was a good experience. You know, got to do a lot of things I otherwise wouldn't have. You know, like visit people in other schools, and just kind of have those kind of more like state school experiences. You know, that was a real fun time.
So shoot, it worked out. It was a blessing in disguise, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help my basketball career, I don't think, but but it was, you know, made the best of it.
As far as memories and stuff like that. So, all right, now you go through that, you spend a year here rehabbing, right? Do you feel like now, what's the next move? You go back to...
For my senior year,
You go back to your senior year up in Princeton. Now, what's your mindset now? And is this the healthiest you feel like you've been since, like, you know, your whole college career?
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, probably. Like, I was, you know, I'd been playing for, you know, I don't know, you know, 9 months maybe by the time the season started. So I was pretty... there wasn't any like rust really at that point. I think I'd shaken the rust off, and was able to start some games like the first half of that season. So that was like, you know, I was happy to be able to do that. That was always kind of a goal. Like, I wanted to start at some point, and didn't end up starting the whole season, but you know, we had a good run to start that year. I think we started like 10-1 maybe, and then, you know, had a really tough start to the conference season. We lost our first 2 games to Harvard and Penn. Harvard was really good that year. I think they were ranked a few weeks in the top 25. You know, because they had those guys coming back then.
From the year before.
So, and back then there was no conference tournament, so you had to win the regular season. To make it to the tournament. So
they have a conference tournament now.
They do. So that started in 2017, I think. And my last season was 2014. So losing your first 2 games in conference, and with how good Harvard was, the writing was kind of on the wall. So they went with some of the young guys after that. And I came off at more of a bench role, which, you know, I still got to play, which was great. I wasn't happy about it at the time.
Most definitely.
But, you know, I think eventually made the best of it.
How would you, what do you feel about like your experience overall at Princeton? You know what I'm saying? Just through the years, even though you went through injuries and, you know, stuff was up and down on the court at times. How would you say your experience was at Princeton overall?
Oh, fantastic. Like, I wouldn't change a thing for sure. And like, just some of I was thinking about this the other day. You know, some of the things that my friends have like gone on to do, you know, it's crazy. There just I don't know that I'll ever be surrounded by that many like interesting successful people in one place. Like, that concentration of that type of people was really special. And I think college is like that for a lot of people, like, just a really good opportunity to be around really, really cool people and have a good time doing it. So, yeah, I have like no, nothing bad. Like I look back on it very fondly.
Great, yeah. So, as far as now, you graduated Princeton. I know that was a great moment in life, you know what I'm saying, graduating Princeton with your family, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's your mindset now that you graduated Princeton? You still got a lot of basketball in you?
Yeah. So, my goal at that point was I wanted to play till I was 30.
Yeah, okay.
That was kind of what I had in mind. And I wonder how much of that was just me putting off not wanting to get a real job.
Yeah, I feel that.
But if you have the opportunity, you might as well pursue it, right?
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to be a little difficult starting out because I didn't have good college numbers or a ton of tape. I had some from senior year that I could send out, but they look for production.
Yeah.
Right. They're no one's really trying to take a chance on a college kid who didn't play much, right? Like they need a sure thing.
Yeah.
So I had to go the route of playing in showcases. I went to Vegas around Summer League. The cool I don't know if it's still like this, but back then, while Summer League was happening, there's all these kind of like satellite events.
Okay.
Because everybody's in town, right? So there's like different agencies host showcases for their players, and they'll invite other guys, so they can have games and stuff in front of scouts from all over the world. So I got into 2 of those. One of which, I'm trying to remember who set me up. Somebody put a word in for me to get me in one. It might have been Matt Schneck. I think he was in that agency. So he got me into like the Scorers First agency showcase. And then there was another one, like the Eurobasket one. The Eurobasket website. That one was a little more like of a shit show. But the Scorers First one was good. Like, had a lot of good players in there. No like huge names or anything, but guys who had good college careers and went on. Like there's a guy who played at Boise State who's like, he's still playing in Spain.
Okay.
Had a great career and was able to get seen by a German team there. Like that agency was based out of Germany, so they had a lot of German scouts. Okay. And I played really well. Tried to put in a ton of work leading up to that, and it paid off. I ended up getting an offer from like a Pro B team in Germany. So I was really, really happy about that, and it happened very quickly. Had the showcase, got the offer, and was like gone like a couple weeks later.
Good. Okay, yeah. And that was something I was gonna ask you, like, what led up to the opportunity in Germany. So now you're in Germany. What's what's life like overseas now? You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that it was all like that fast. You had to leave that early. So what was it like, before leaving and getting everything together and leaving out for Germany?
Yeah, I remember just trying not to think about it too much. Like I was just trying to be present, I guess, and not worry, like just take things as they came. Because, it's one of those things where it's such a big change. If you spend too much time thinking about it, it's just not productive, I don't think.
I feel that.
So I was like, I'm just going to get over there and, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I remember going there, and first, like, we had a connecting flight in like Berlin, and then I landed in maybe Dusseldorf, because the city I was in was like maybe like an hour north of Dusseldorf. Okay. And my bags didn't make it to they got lost at the connecting flight. So I was like, oh man. And then the head coach of the team met me at the airport, and he didn't speak very good English.
Oh yeah.
So I was sitting there with him, like, we were trying to get my bags, and I'm trying to like talk to him, and it's just a little bit of a language barrier.
Yeah.
So it just
More
was
than
kind
a
of
little bit.
awkward and stressful. Like, I'm not knowing if my stuff is going to show up.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not
That's
off to a good start. Yeah. I'm like dead ass tired.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know? Not a good start.
Okay.
And then, thankfully, after like a couple hours, my bag showed up. So we then drive like an hour, and he takes me to my apartment. And I had no clue, you know, I didn't know anything about, you know, I looked up some of the players and stuff and the coach, but as far as like where I'd be living or anything, it just was the show up and see.
Yeah, let's see.
And so we pulled up. Yeah, we pulled up to like a part of town. It didn't look great.
Yeah.
You know, there were nicer parts of town. I'll say that.
Okay.
And we go into, there's like, oh, like your apartment's over here, like, and then one door down, there's like a corner store. So you can go, like, the guy who runs the corner store is like a friend of the team. Like, go in there and like, you know, he can get you a few like things just so you can eat tonight.
Yeah.
And I had been to Spain before. We did a trip to Spain with our team in college one summer. But those trips are like, you know, at least the one we went on was kind of a little more, you know, upscale.
Yeah.
You know, than what I was dealing with here.
Yeah.
And so I go in there, there's like a deli and the meat's just like, it's not refrigerated.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's all like German, like sausage.
Yeah.
You know, like I've never seen any of this before. I don't know if it's like good to eat.
Yeah.
They got the eggs, like they don't refrigerate the eggs in over there.
All right.
So I was like, can you do that? Like,
it's a real culture shock. Yeah. That's wild.
I didn't have like any Wi-Fi, so I couldn't like look it up, you know?
Yeah.
My phone wasn't working. So it was really uncomfortable first day. And then I remember I go up to my apartment and I'm finally by myself. I'm like, damn it. I don't know.
What did I get myself into?
Exactly. I was like, I don't know about all this, man. Like, it's got to get better, right? And then they're like, okay, well, we got practice tonight. So
Tonight?
Yeah.
The same night? Okay.
Yeah. So I took like a 3-hour nap and then went to practice, like very jet lagged. But that's, you know, you start to talk to enough people who play overseas. That's just kind of how it is, you know? You got to just show up and be ready to go. But, well, you know, once I had that first practice, just getting out there and playing definitely put me at ease. Like, okay, like there's a lot of things that I'm going to miss, but I get to play basketball every day. And that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
So I think I can make this work. So I settled in after that, but it was definitely like, I'll never forget sitting there by myself, like,
yeah, that's tough.
not so sure. Yeah.
I can see that. And too, you know, a former guest that we had on here, they done played overseas. It's been all different kind of stories, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, some good stories, but I get the stories like this of the struggle sometimes that they gotta go through.
Yeah, it's a lonely life.
Yes.
And so I got a lot of respect for people that can do it a long time. Like I ran into Jerry Smith a few, like during the high school season over at Nicolay, and this past season was his first year not playing, and he just was telling me about how he missed so much family time, you know, and was just ready to be done. I
mean, you so far, you know what I'm saying, from Germany to you can play anywhere, China, just all that, but you just so far from your family. As far as basketball, like you get the support even when you was in New Jersey. I can still easily hit you up, like what you did today, you know what I'm saying, keep it up, or you know, keep your head up on certain stuff. But when you over there, it's even tougher. You don't got no support at all. So.
Time difference. It was tough.
Yeah. But over there, you got to showcase your talent a lot more. You know what I'm saying? You balled over there. You did your thing. So speak on that experience on the court.
Yeah, it was, you know, the nice thing about overseas is that, you know, as an American, if you're coming to the team, you're expected to be a prominent player typically. Yeah. Or maybe, you know, there's probably some higher level teams where they'll have Americans who maybe are in a lesser role, but for the most part, like you're expected to, you know, be one of the guys. So I enjoyed that. Obviously, like that's kind of all you can ask for is just the opportunity to go play and have the ball in your hands, and you know, the team kind of goes as you go to a certain extent. And yeah, I mean, you know, it was, you know, not quite the level that I had been at in college, I don't think, but you know, it was fun. I had great teammates. I got along with the guys really well. I think I lucked out in terms of teammates. Really well run organization too.
That's good.
You know, they paid us on time. That
was something I was going to ask you too, as far as like pay. I hear that some people not get paid at all.
Exactly. So, you know, I was definitely fortunate, like just good people. You know, we weren't like an awesome team. Like we were good, like top half, like good team, but you know, I can't complain at all. Like I had a good experience playing where I did.
What was the decision on, you know, you wanted to come back home to America? And like, how, did you do a season? Was it 2 seasons?
I just did I did the 1 season. I came home fully intending on playing again. Yeah. And funny, I remember talking to, so I had like my agent, and then there was the head of the agency. And I remember talking to the head of the agency about, like, I was kind of frustrated, I think, I was like, I always wanted, you know, to be at a higher level, right? Yeah. And it's kind of, you know, you start out a certain level in basketball, and this is kind of the case in, you know, in the workforce in general, and you're kind of pegged to that level. It's really hard to make big leaps when you start out at a certain point. And I was frustrated by that, and I remember talking to him, like, you know, trying to find out what more I can do. And I remember him telling me, like, hey, you know, I typically don't like having Ivy League guys as clients because they have such good degrees that the minute things get hard, they're out. Like, why would I do that? Why would I grind that out here when I have this Ivy League degree to go put to work elsewhere? You know, there's just so many, you just have so many opportunities with that. And I remember, like,
but I'm a ball player first.
Yeah, like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, not trying to say it like that.
I'm not trying to hear that.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to hear that. Yeah. I was dedicated to it at that point. But I came home, and around that same time, I started dating my now wife. So once there was that, and then we were dating, and then I had signed another contract. I was gonna go play in Chile. Okay. Like some coastal town in like southern Chile. And it was only, you know, gonna be for like through January. But I wanted to do it, and we were gonna do the long distance thing, and I was ready to go. Like, I had signed. Yeah. And then like 3 days later, my agent came back to me and said, oh, like, team went in another direction. Okay. Yeah. So at that point, I think it was pretty late in the summer. Yeah. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not trying to get like jerked around by these teams, and like my agent, like the head of the agency said, I've got this degree. I can do whatever I want, really. Yeah. And I can at least try. You know, I don't have to go leave the country. And
exactly. And
as much as I wanted to play, you had to realize, like, you know, you got to do what's best for the long term too. So I just felt like the right time to just move on. So with you stepping away from that, you still involved though. I know you were the first person I know of that was doing the 3-on-3 competitions. And as far as like we see TBT today, oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I remember you the first person that mentioned that to me. It's way before it's like how now for the $1 million.
Yeah, so
how did you get into that?
The TBT was I don't remember how I heard about it, but the first year they had it was 2014. So we played in that, myself and a group of Princeton alums.
Yep.
In the very first one in 2014.
I remember that.
It was like 500 grand was the prize. And it was one of those, I remember hearing about it, like, is this real? Like, they're just going to give the team 500 grand? It's like, where are they getting this money?
Yeah.
You know? And then I remember
that.
talking to the tournament, like the guy who started it. And like one of the two, the two co-founders. And I was like, oh, they're legit. Like, and they were really just trying to get it off the ground. So they really wanted us to play because Princeton was a big kind of brand name. So that was a really cool experience to be able to do that. And just, you know, get the guys together one more time and play.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing to Team Barstool.
Okay. The company Barstool?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
they were good. They had, like, Dante Jones was playing for them. They had some other former NBA guys on the team.
It's real big now. It's full of former NBA players.
Well, then they had the president of Barstool, like, was sitting on the bench, like, talking shit. Like,
yeah.
I was like, let's get this dude out of here. They ended up going to the finals, but anyway, like, so that was cool. That was one of the coolest experiences. I wish we could have kept doing it, but it just, you know, it's hard to get that many guys together.
I feel that.
Because not everybody was still playing.
Yeah. It's
one thing if everybody's playing overseas, you know, but a lot of those guys were, like, just working, you know.
Do you think leagues like that are possible as far as, I know we got, like, the big three, but, like, of course, we in America, it's a good thing we got the NBA here, but it's tough for, you know what I'm saying, for the athletes here, because you either got to make it to the NBA or you got to leave the country. So that's tough. You feel me? So do you think we can ever have, like, I know we got semi-pro, but do you think it can be some leagues here in America to where it can thrive, like, you know, just right under the NBA, or do you think the NBA won't allow that? As far as, like, you know, business-wise, like, as far as just keeping our athletes in America.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a tough question. I don't know, because, you know, you're going to follow the money, right? Like, at a certain point, you're going to go where the best opportunity is. And those countries overseas, like, they love basketball too, and they're willing to pay. Yep. And if that's where the money's going to be, they're going to be able to attract talent. So, you know, unless there's, like, some league that comes along that can pay, you know, competitively with overseas, you know, I think it's going to remain largely the same.
Yeah. And
I think that'll be tough to do because there's only so much appetite for basketball. And, you know, now that I think of it, like, college I think that's what the college game is turning into. Yeah. Like, those guys are making money.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I feel that then. Yeah.
And I thought, you know, there was some ruling. I don't know where it stands now, but, like, the schools may actually just start paying the players directly, like, as W-2 employees. So I think that's essentially what the version of what you're talking about, like a league below.
Yeah. Because everybody can't make the NBA. Like, it's close to impossible. You know what I'm saying?
And then as far as, like, after college, then maybe that's, you know, where you have to leave the country to find the money. But you know, who knows? Like, if you build up enough of a name in college, like, you could start to see maybe popular guys who just aren't quite good enough start something here. You know, it's not impossible.
With you being a student athlete, what's your opinion on how it is now, like, with the NIL and transfer portal? Like, you know what I'm saying? What's your opinion on, like, college basketball and just how things is now with that?
It's so foreign to me.
I feel you. It is to me too.
Like, I understand it, you know, at a surface level, but my experience was so different from whatever it is now.
I'll say, do the athletes, do you feel like they deserve everything they're getting right now, like with the NIL? Do you feel like that's needed for real? Or
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like a market. The market determines what the value is, and if they can get the money, then you're worth what someone's willing to pay, right? So I think for sure, like, if they can get it, then they're worth it. Yeah. You know, so I think it's a good thing for the most part. Like, obviously there's going to be unintended consequences and, you know, certain issues that come because of the money that's involved. But, you know, I'm not in favor of denying someone monetary resources or their monetary value just because of some arbitrary set of rules.
Yeah.
So I think it's good.
That's real. Yeah, I wanted your opinion on that because you went through the grind with that as being a student athlete to where, you know what I'm saying, you couldn't just be getting paid like they do now or market your name. It was all type of penalties and stuff like that came with it. So most definitely wanted your opinion. Want to speak on your brother one time, Joe Sherburne. And you know, him being an athlete, you seen his growth as an athlete. I was able to see him at a young age, seen him catch his growth spurt and everything. But speak on your brother. He was a part of a special team in college. Just speak on him a little bit, him as an athlete, and just, you know, being your brother.
Yeah. So Joe's 5 years younger than me, and he was in the unfortunate position of having to travel to all my events.
Yeah.
So I mean, you saw, like you said, you used to see him every time out.
Every time out,
he'd run out there with his his mini ball and shoot, and the refs would have to come like kick him off.
Yes, everywhere we went.
Every time. Yeah. So, you know, he then went on and had an amazing career of his own. And he did, you know, all those years he put in following me around, he deserved it, right?
Facts.
So yeah, you mentioned the team. He ended up playing at UMBC, and was a real big contributor on that team, that 16 seed, first one to beat number one
in history
in 2018. Yeah, beat Virginia. So that was, I mean, just amazing to see.
Yeah,
you know, like. You just one of those things you could never predict, right? Like
facts, yeah, can't.
It just doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
And then had like all the stuff that came from that was really cool for him. You know, he got a lot of really cool opportunities because of that. So just, I mean, I couldn't be happier for him. And on top of that, like not just that game, but he had a really good college career.
Yeah, most definitely.
He was like I think he's a top 5 scorer at the school. Like he started the most games and was academic All-American of the year as a senior.
Okay, yeah.
Which is like, that's a crazy honor, you know? I just, you know, the only thing is I wish he could have played longer. He had some back problems.
Okay. I was going to ask you, did he...
he went overseas, but like 2 or 3 weeks into his time over there, he had to stop because his back.
Okay.
And he never really recovered fully from that.
Yeah.
So just, I mean, he's back playing recreationally now, but
yeah, that
kind of ended his competitive career.
Oh, that's tough. Well, we most definitely want to, you know, shout him out on here. I know you're proud of him, you know what I'm saying? Not definitely. Like you said, not just that game, but, you know, his whole career, being able to see him grow. I know I was fortunate enough to, you know, like you said, see him at a young age, and I was just, you know, super surprised at his growth. And I know he loved the game following you. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you know, I spent all those years like kicking his ass.
Yeah.
And he then spent the rest of his life one-upping me.
Yeah.
You know? He got a state championship in high school. Granted, he was a freshman, like who got called up.
Yeah.
So he wasn't like playing, but he got that. He won a tournament game. He scored, you know, played a bunch in college.
Yeah.
He signed to a Pro A German team. I was Pro B, so
okay, you got
a competitive, yeah, silently competitive maniac.
That's real. And he caught you by a couple inches height-wise.
So he's 6'6", yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Shout out Joe, man. I'm glad we got that. Nowadays, as far as like recreational wise, do you still get to play at all? And like, you know what I'm saying, what do you do with the sport nowadays?
Yeah, so that's not as much now. I played a lot, like you mentioned 3-on-3. I didn't touch on that, but for a while I played in some 3-on-3 stuff with my old college teammates and some other guys. Like played in some really cool like Nike events in LA. Won those a few times. I got to play in like the USA Basketball National Championship in 2018. And then just living in Chicago for 6-7 years, there was a really good pickup game down there that I played in that a lot of really big, like well-known people came through or either were regulars or stopped by. So that was a really fun experience that just got me to keep playing at a high level. But since moving back here and having my daughter, she's two now, you know, and then it was work becomes more of a commitment too as you get older. There's just less time, and so I don't play a ton right now. I'm a little working through some injuries too. So, but I would like to play a little bit more consistently once I'm fully healthy. You know, there was that league. What was that league I was in? I played one game and then had to drop out.
Yeah, I was supposed to catch you at some of those games.
Yeah, over at Destiny.
Yeah.
And we had a talented team too. So
yeah, it was a lot of ballers. Yeah, most definitely.
If they'll allow me to come back after I bailed after one game, but I literally I couldn't keep going. So
yeah, no, hey, life be life, man.
Yeah,
so it is what it is. As far as do you feel like your Ivy League degree? Do you feel like that took you away from, say, maybe you want to coach or something? Was that something you ever want to do?
Well, it wasn't so much like the degree I had, but coaching is. There's a lot of coaches who will tell you not to get into coaching.
I hear that a lot.
I ran into, I guess I won't say who, it doesn't really matter, but a lifelong coach who's coached at the highest level, right? And I ran into him 2 summers ago in town here, just kind of in passing, and he's like, we were just catching up really quickly. He's like, you're not anywhere near basketball, are you? And I was like, no. He's like, stay away.
Yeah.
As he's walking away, like desperately telling me not to get into it. And not that it's like, you know, it's just not for everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's demanding on, like, it's hard on families.
Yeah.
So that's just, you know, you got to make sacrifices. For every decision you make is a trade-off, right? And that just was not a trade-off that I wanted to make. You know, I wanted to have a little more control over where I lived. I didn't want to bounce around all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no matter where, if you make it on the highest level, you really gonna be bouncing around. You got like a good 1 or 2 years.
You know, and like the job security is stressful. There's just a lot that comes with it. So I thought about it a little bit early on, but you know, I just wanted to have a little more control over my life.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Well, as far as JonnyBeeTV, we'd love to have you on to pick your brain on some topics, you know what I'm saying? So that can get your basketball juice going.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? In the future, have you back on. We got your story.
Just talk some hoops. Talk about myself the whole time.
Yeah, most definitely. Just, you know what I'm saying? Because you got a lot of knowledge of the game. You've been through a lot. So, like, I would love to, and we both love the game. It's funny how, I'm telling you, we done been to multiple games together. I don't think the audience know.
You know, I was thinking about this on the way over here. I remember skipping, like, school dances to go watch high school games with you.
Yeah, I believe you introduced me to high school basketball for real. Like, just going to Whitefish Bay games, then we used to Terry Porter Classic.
South Division,
Every
year we go to that, yeah.
Most definitely. So, like, you really introduced me to high school basketball, or, like, rankings, how rankings work. You know, we was young. So, just all that. We got so many memories in the game. So, I'd love to have you back on, pick your brain, just on, you know, how the Bucks doing, or just...
you know, it's not... I follow other teams, too. That's just everything. The lens that I follow it through, I think, is through the Bucks, so... But, yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, when the season start, we'll pick a day, most definitely. But I'd love to have you on and talk some sports. Before I let you go, you want to give any shout outs, you know, any thanks you want to give to, you know, family, anything?
Yeah, this is a good question, because I'm getting inducted into the Whitefish Bay Athletic Hall of Fame, so I'm gonna have to write a speech, you know, at some point. And I'm like, who all am I gonna thank?
I gotta be there for that. Is that?
Yeah, you should come.
I gotta come to that.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
A ton of people, but just, you know, my parents first and foremost. You know, without trying to go through everybody.
Yeah.
They gave me all the opportunities, you know. So
facts. Well,
shout them out.
Most definitely shout them out.
And shout you out.
Yeah. Shout out JonnyBeeTV, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, shout out to your parents. I want to shout them out too, man. Raised a great young man. They accepted me in the home anytime. Just individually going to pick me up if I needed a ride anywhere. Your dad was, always helpful towards me growing up. You know what I'm saying? Played the father figure role in my life. So it all come full circle today, man. We on JonnyBeeTV. We got Jimmy Sherburne in the building. We appreciate y'all. Love.